longer. I have the pleasure to introduce our next guest, Xavier Ros from Harquitectes from Barcelona. When I first got to know your office, I stumbled upon the name Harquitectes. I wasn't sure how to pronounce it, and I remembered that in Spanish, I actually do not pronounce the H, or in Catalan neither. So it would read like Arquitectes, which just means architect. So I thought that could maybe be a sign of how you see your office. I believe that you see yourself and your partners, your 4 founding partners, but also the people that work with you, the architects, but also the students, that you see that like one big team that creates this project. So I think it's not so much about authorship in your work, but it's much more about the projects speaking for themselves. A few words about you though, Xavier. You studied at the University of Architecture in Valles, that's next to Barcelona. And today you're also teaching at the ETSA Barcelona. The office was founded in 2000, and you have done an impressive amount of work, really different in scale, from small housing project to large housing, but also schools, public buildings, research centers. And yeah, you've had a lot of recognition in Spain, but also abroad, and you also travel a lot, and we're very happy to have you here today. And I could see in your work a lot of emphasis, also interest in this material, but not also the material, but also how it's constructed, how it finds together, maybe typical material, also concrete, but mainly also wood, especially brick, very often brick, not a fancy one, a simple one. And the way you use the material is often in an exposed way. So it's quite direct, sometimes raw, always very powerful. So I think as your office doesn't maybe claim so much authorship, it's also because you're looking at what has done before. You study traditional ways of constructing things and thinking about how can we reapply this today. And I also saw very interesting projects of yours where you also go beyond this question of the material, but also, and I think this is also very a big challenge for us today, you also look at the overall system of a building. How can I create the climate inside without using a machine, without having to put an additional technical machine, but I solve it through the architecture itself. So yes, I'm looking forward to the lecture. There's also a special link with Basel. This spring, you won a very prestigious competition in Barcelona for the extension or the new building for the MACBA, the Contemporary Art Museum. And this is a project together with Kristen Gantenbein, colleagues of ours here in Basel. So we're very much looking forward to that collaboration. And first of all, now we look forward to your lecture. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for the presentation. After that, perhaps I just move the slides and stay in silent. No, it's a great pleasure to be here. As a team, when we were a super small team, just the 4 partners, we started making some trips, some architectural journeys. And the first one in 1999 was in Basel. So we started here as a super young architects, not like today, staying here for 3 or 4 days, visiting what we consider in that moment, not of our masters, because but somebody to follow in terms of architecture, which was Herzog and de Meuron, and of course Peter Zumthor, this one also today. Yeah, the thing is that we are, my feeling is that we are a strange office here today, because we are a super traditional office in terms of what do we do and how do we work. We never use our hands working on site. We use our mind there. We use our hands to draw and our words to discuss in the office, and also to receive a lot of advices and improve all the decisions on site with the workers and so on. But we are really traditional in that way. Yeah, I will start with just I think that 8 or 10 slides, very conceptual, very fast, to try to explain a little bit our approach, and then I will move to just 3 or 4 projects, I think. Yeah. Well, it's a sculpture made on concrete, but it's casual. But the thing is that I mean that avoiding concrete, probably we didn't avoid the real problem. The thing is, of course, concrete is a big problem, but the thing is, what do we do with the materials? Because as architects, we decide, of course, which is the material, but then how to put them on site. Why are we using the material? Simplifying a little bit, when we decide to use a material, we try to use it in as much things as possible, for structure, for aesthetics, for comfort, for the kind of space that we are creating, for everything. If we can do it with just one material, is the best option. Then what is important is to understand the material. Each material has a characteristic, and we as architects needs to understand what we can do with the material. In this case, with concrete, we can have these kinds of cantilevers. We can decide the finishing of concrete. We need to understand what happens with the concrete thanks to the rain, etc., etc., etc. Another important thing, and it's connected to this idea of what do we do with the material, is to understand the different characteristics of the different possibilities that we have in a building. So all the parts of the building are or needs the same characteristics in terms of climate, for example. Here in this beautiful house in Sardinia, we have 2 kinds of spaces. The heavy one, the dark one, the traditional one, which are the 4 rooms that are on the corners, and then the central one without any kind of artificial climate, no roof, no walls, but where the best things in this house can happen. So yeah, of course, we are not doing houses everywhere. And in Basel, you can imagine on summer, on winter, this kind of space, because it's so cold here, I imagine. But in all the buildings, there are opportunities to understand where we can go down with the needs of this building. So it is important as architects that we are always looking for these opportunities to reduce not only the energy consumption, the things that the users are waiting or are going to find there. In our buildings, I think that many will discover this kind of 2 spaces. It's very simple, the idea, but you will recognize this kind of super inertial spaces and this kind of air spaces where I think that the most beautiful things can happen there. Yeah, the last picture was very vernacular, very simple in terms of architecture, in terms of elements. So very static, always working in the same way. The opportunity now in the contemporary moment is that we can make buildings that can adapt to the outdoor conditions. So as architects, we need to define which is the edge of this. We prefer to be very simple, or we add some complexity in terms of, for example, these beautiful and huge doors that can be open wide to transform this beautiful classroom into a porch during the summer season, for example. So how can we create architecture that works like an organism, that adapts to the situation? this is that thing in our country, in Catalonia, in Barcelona. We are lucky because we have during the year the climate change a lot, so it is necessary to create a good frame to fight against the sun, but also in winter we need the sun. So the buildings need to change, and this is not only about the energy or the saving of energy and so on. It gives also characteristics to the space. So if you look at this classroom, the ceiling is so high. The trees can be seen crossing the classroom. So yeah, the CO2 emissions are very important, but it is also important that a building or a structure bears the loads in the right way. And yeah, it's not enough. I think that we need more. We can give more. Another important thing in this picture is the attitude of the kids without clothes on the top, because it's summer and it's warm. So the attitude of the users are very important. And I think that during the last 100 years, this idea of have a good attitude has been lost, thanks to the air condition. Yeah, you press the button and it's okay, 21 in summer in Barcelona, 40 degrees outside. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, so in all of our buildings, sometimes in a very complex way, sometimes in a very simple way for small houses, we always try to look for the opportunity of create what we call a seasonal comfort. So, for example, and this is a graphic that shows the behavior of a research center that I will explain later. Oops. Whoa. These two lines are showing the legal comfort, the top and the bottom. The red line in the middle are the spaces that needs to be in this temperature in terms of regulation. The other one, the blue, is the weather outside, the temperature outside. And the orange, almost red, is the comfort that we create thanks to this architecture that is adaptable without or with zero energy consumption in the research center that you will see. But as I told you before, it's not only about energy consumption, it's not only about a singular thing. So as architects, I think that we are lucky because to do architect means to put a lot of parameters on the table. And I think that good architecture is the one that put not everything, but a lot of things in the same level and create good decisions that can save energy, but can create super good conditions to live there. So you will see that in our work, we didn't, so for us it is important, the quality of the space also. Another thing, and it's related to the aesthetics or what happens to a building during its construction, and beautifully expressed in this picture of the cathedral in Bologna, is that sometimes what is happening during the construction process gives signs and scars and in fact language to the building itself. And also it depends on the system of construction that you are using. You can also add this aesthetic thanks to the process. For example, when you pour concrete or when you create a wall made on brick, all the process are giving characteristics. So we really love this idea of signs that gives the time of the construction and also the time of the life of the building. Sometimes this is thanks to a super long time, like in this Diocletian Palace in Split. So the starting point is very clear. It's almost a single building, and after 2000 years, what is there? It's just something that cannot be understood without the passing of time and the different actions, sometimes with intentions, but probably without any idea of what they are expecting or what they want to do with this old city center. The thing is that the center of Split is what it is thanks to the first palace and thanks to all the actions that the men and the architects did there during the life of the after the palace. But yeah, as architects, we cannot expect only for casual things. We need to do actions when the commission is to transform or to restore or to refurbish an old building. It's not only about the respect. It's just how to make sense or a restoration. It's something that could make sense only or mainly thanks to the architect action. So in the case of Teatro Oficina of Lina Bobardi, the building hasn't any value, you know, that it's a burned building. And the addition of this scaffolding and the greenhouse and so on is the thing. And what is beautiful is that the final theater, the one that you are looking at the picture, is what it is thanks to what the architect decided to keep there. So it's a perfect mixture of old and new, but it doesn't matter history. The only important thing is that you go there for a theater play, you enjoy this architecture, feeling the old things, but living in the new ones. And finally, I think that is the last slide of the first part. Yeah, as I told you, as architects, we need to manage a lot of almost scientist parameters like the CO2 emissions of any material, the calculation of the structure, the things that the client is waiting for, and so on. But after all, I think that what it's important is that, like in this case of this beautiful house in Galicia in the northwest of Spain, the architect imagined everything in this terrace, but at the end, his daughter arrives to the balcony and jump on through the water and change the mission of this balcony. And these unexpected situations for people that are always creating arguments, thinking, discussing, and trying to find the most rational solution. Well, you can control everything. There is always time for unexpected situations. Yeah, as Ursula was saying, we started in 2000, but I think that in 2007 or 10, like that, we started working with the traditional systems that we have there. In this house in Sant Cugat, close to our school, we decided to work with brick. Brick is the typical material there, so nothing special. And the brick that we use here is the cheapest one, the simple one, so nothing special. The commission there was to create a house with a lot of walls because they were our collectors, but they want to connect they want a strong connection with the house and the garden. So it's a kind of contradiction, walls and open to the garden. And the solution was very simple, and you can read it just looking at the plan. We create 3 boxes, and the space in between these 3 boxes are kind of galleries that can easily change or become a porch during the summer, as you will see. And that's all I'm not going to explain the house. It's possible to understand it on our website or publications, but yeah, the thing is that we have the kitchen in the middle, the parent room on the left, on my left, and the kids' place on the right, and then 2 galleries or 2 porches that connect the garden from south to north, and that's all. As I said, we work with this very simple brick. Both walls are working together as a structure because it is not possible to build with just a single wall. As I told you, we never did nothing on site with our hands, but we test a lot of things with the workers, and we change. For us, the designing process starts on the table, but it ends on site. So we are always ready to change the decision if we think it's better for the project. Yeah, as I told you, the house is very simple. So we have this connection, this strong connection between two boxes. It's and as I told you before in one slide, also the passing of time expressed perfectly with the improvement of the vegetation are something that we really love. To understand that we are not building for a picture at the end of the work on site. We are creating a place to live, and the important things happens after our intervention. In this case, it's super easy to understand that this is the kind of intermediate space, the space in between, and then we have the closest one, just the brick painted on white with a few windows. Yeah, to transform. Nowadays in Barcelona, everything or every public project is a pre-existing building, and we have to transform it. I prefer the word transform rather than restore or refurbish and transform. We need to change to give a new life. In this case, for this civic center, we had just a former cooperative of the 20s that changed the usage because of the civil war and so on. Nothing interesting happened. It was a competition, and not going to explain so much. This is the original building divided in 3 parts. What we decided for the competition was to create a street inside the plot that connects all the parts. There is a transition from left to right, better construction for the main pieces of the original building facing the street, I mean on the left, and then a kind of degradation at the end of the plot. So yeah, this is the strategical demolition. So we demolish a part of the building to create this street, to have light, to have air, to have a place where the users can understand super easily how to use the building, where they have to walk to arrive to the different classrooms and so on. Yeah, following the Teatro Oficina of Lino Bardi, after the demolition, we add things to this space. In this case, this scaffolding with staircases, and also the roof made on polycarbonate and glass, depending on the size, with windows on the top to remove the air during the summer season. Yeah, there is, as I told you, there is a transition in this part of the building. The structure is the original structure, but if we walk through this street, the last part is almost new, but in everywhere you feel that there's something new strongly connected to the old, creating a real new building. This is the most strategical drawing. This is the original building with the kind of multi-purpose room on the top and a former shop on the ground floor. We recover the multi-purpose room. We recover the shop as another smaller room. And this is the atrium that we create with a new ceiling supported by the original wooden truss and so on. As I told you, we are not very interested in the history of the building. We need to know about that and so on. We are only interested in the building after its completion. So it doesn't matter what is new and what is old for us. As I told you before, it is important to us to detect opportunities to reduce the demand of energy. So in this case, the atrium is painted on red and blue. So it's a space that hasn't any kind of artificial climate. It improves the temperature and the characteristics thanks to the outdoor situation, the sun and the wind and the air, but also thanks to what is happening inside the the climatized area. So, and always the strategy in our area is always the same, to remove the air on the top where it's hottest and goes out. As I told you before, we love this idea of collage, but not for aesthetics, but for the process of demolish and add and open doors and break up all doors and so on, that creates a specific aesthetic that can always be explained. And what is important for us in this case, you see old walls, pre-existing walls, new ones, both working, supporting the ceiling. So as I told you, we are looking for one thing, which is the new building. We usually try to draw our architecture. We did it for a publication of El Croquis, trying to draw not only the arrows expressing the air movement, but also imagine the people and the architectural framework that we create, trying to summarize everything that is important for us, not only the energy saving, that is very important also. And after all, as I told you, this is the part where everything is new. I mean, the structure and the roof and the facade and so on, but you can see that the presence of the old parts are super important. And this is just the building outdoor, outside, the former shop, the atrium, these scars and cracks and signs without value, without heritage value, but that gives the personality of this new building and keeps, in a way, the spirit of the original one. Yeah, we spent a lot of time deciding how to use the brick in this case. The brick was the original load-bearing system in this building, and we continue with the original system. As I told you, we never do nothing with our hands, but we try to control and define and change and adapt and discover new solutions on site. Yeah, as I told you before, yeah, we as architects decide how we organize matter. But after all, this is a short period of time. After all, during the life of the building, what it's moved there and with a lot of tones of matter is something fluid, the air. So it is very important for us to understand that what we are doing during the construction will affect the whole life of the building. In this case, also in Barcelona, we had just a facade, nothing else, in a triangular plot. We need to keep this facade, and the former facade become the structure of the new building and creates conditions for the new building, which is very simple. The idea, I'm not going to explain that. The idea is how can we create a building that works as a machine that can renovate the air 11 times per hour, which is the maximum, without artificial machines during the summer. And that means that we put 25 people in a classroom and they need to be fresh enough thanks to the natural ventilation. So again, the architectural decisions affects this fluid matter that creates condition to our control. The strategy was very simple. So it's a very massive building made on brick and concrete. This is the typical classroom. We have windows facing an atrium between the new facade and the old one. The air comes up from the basement, across the classroom, and go to these gaps on the wall, which are connected to a sun chimney on the top that you will see here. So it's a natural ventilation that works during the day, I mean, during the summer, thanks to the high temperature on the top in these pyramid chimneys. So we arrive here at 90 degrees, almost 70, 80, 90 degrees, super hot. And this difference of temperature creates the natural movement. But what is important in Barcelona is not to renovate during the day because we have a very bad temperature, but to change the air at night. And at night we don't have sun, so it has a very simple Venturi effect on the top of the chimney that works during the night. And there is the most important strategy here. Yeah, the study is very simple to ventilate during summer and to get close on winter. We as architects work with a lot of engineers and specialists that create these models, but at the end, the decisions are upon us. So we made all the decisions. We know more than how the air is moving. We know what we're expecting in terms of architecture. And again, yeah, I can spend a lot of time explaining how the chimney works and the temperature and the sun rises and so on. But again, what is important for us is the comfort for that people, and not only the comfort in terms of climate, also the comfort in terms of pace. So, and one thing is not against the other. Well, again, here we had a different type of brick because we are not so sensible in general. But the former factory here was a factory of glass, and we decided to use this glass brick. There's the entrance, and this is the classroom with the window that is facing this small corridor between the old facade and the new one. Yeah, concrete. In this case, for this research center, I'm just going to explain what happens with the concrete, because we have two kinds of materials here, the removable ones, I mean, polycarbonate, wood, steel, and so on, but we have a lot of concrete, only for the structure, but a lot of concrete. Explained that before. The structure of the building is made on post-stressed concrete with a huge slab between each level. As I told you before, it is important for us, this capacity of the building to get adaptable to the conditions, the outdoor conditions, but also the indoor needs. To detect where we can reduce the demand or the needs for the users, expressed in blue, and where we need to follow the rules. I mean, the offices, the laboratories, and this kind of spaces. So as I told you, the thing is what happens with this concrete slab. And I will show you in this picture. We light the concrete slab, putting pipes inside, which is a common thing to do to reduce the weight and so on. But then we decided to move the air of renovation. So to move it crossing the slab. So the air, when it's moving, it's interchanging the temperature with concrete. And on summer, thanks to the surface that we increase it because of we use I'll use in a picture. We increase the surface. We are interchanging the hottest air of the offices with the concrete slab, and the air is interchanging constantly the temperature. So we have concrete, but it is working in this idea of building that is like an organism. Yeah, we have a lot of systems in this building, but very complex. We have a lot of things here interchanging and working together. But the thing is that after 1 year of using the building, we studied and we know that we reduce the half part of the energy. That means in Barcelona, 100,000 euros, which is a lot for us. Probably in Basel sounds nothing, but it is very important for us. So it works very well. And this is the last part. This is a house that we built in the north of Catalonia, in L'Empordà, a very beautiful area. It was not a strange commission, but it's in a protected village because of the heritage value and so on, landscape. And so we have to deal with the heritage people, which are heritage people. Perhaps you understand what I mean. The house is not in the old center, it's just in this plot, so in the outskirts of this small building, but we need to follow the rules which are not especially interesting, because we need to build with stone. And the thing is that we have a super beautiful wall made of stone there, but in this case, not thanks to the heritage people, but some people working with the urbanism there, somebody decided to enlarge the two streets that are surrounding the house. So the thing is that we have to demolish this wall. This is the old wall, and this is the new limit of the plot. So we have to demolish, and we have to rebuild it in the same way. After 100 of years that is done, we need to do the same. We don't know how to do that, of course. So we demolish, of course, we have a huge amount of stones, and we decided to use the stones to create a new wall made on concrete, but without cement, just with lime. We use also the sand of the plot. We use balls of glass to increase the insulation capacity of the wall. So what we did is to rebuild the wall in a different way. You can understand here the process, and it looks like a little bit parameter process, because we go layer by layer, putting stones inside. We have three kinds of wall. The one on the facade that is with stone, that has stones in the side of the facade. The walls that are inside, that are not facades, that are full of stones to reduce the cubic meters of concrete. And the walls that are facades, these ones that didn't have stones, but has a more insulation elements, the glass balls. And this is the original wall, and this is the house. So the house is just a wall. But as I told you, the house is just a wall, means that the house is a wall itself. So you live inside a wall that is super close to the street, but it's open wide to the garden and to the south and to the views and so on. There is a coincidence on all the good things in this plot. And again, all the walls are structural. The walls also have, I don't know, toilets, showers, beds, everything except the main rooms. Each space is a kind of gallery facing the garden that works as it creates a promenade or an enfilade of rooms. Very radical in terms of program. These are models that we do for the clients to understand our ideas. Yeah, very simple. So we have the north here, we have strong wind here, so we are protected thanks to this wall during the construction, which is super craft work, as you can see here, layer by layer. And after the build, we need to expose again the stones inside the wall. So we use a bash hammer to discover the stones inside the wall, as you can see here. And again, the process of the construction and the material that you are using create the facade and the aesthetics itself. It's very simple, it's very almost infantile, but it's strong inside. Of course, we didn't bash hammer the concrete. And again, it's concrete, but it's not only to support the house, it's to create the atmosphere in its whole sense. I mean, the air temperature, what you are seeing when you are inside, all the things, thanks to, I mean, a structural, but something that creates a huge problem for us, that was to rebuild a wall that we don't want to build again. So I think that as architects, each problem can become an opportunity. And in the same area, we are doing almost the same, but in this case, mixing new walls with former ones, with a house that was just like a ruin. So we are working again with a lot of concrete, but I don't know if this is true or not, but for us, we draw in the same way what's new and what's old. because we understand that the building must be like that, thanks to what it was before our work there. And this is the last thing I'm going to explain. Perhaps it's more connected to some ideas that my colleagues explained before. This is in Palma de Mallorca, the island, and we won a very small competition that ordered us to demolish this building. So there's no other option to demolish this building and to do a new building made on wood, which is a super strange technique in Mallorca. And these were the rules for the competition. We followed the rules, so we decided to demolish the building because it doesn't make sense to keep it there. But the thing is that we decided to understand that the building can be a kind of mine in the same plot. And we divided and we will divide because it's not under construction. We divide the wasting material into parts. The one that you are seeing in this picture is a typical stone in Mallorca, which is called marès, a very light stone that you can cut it manually almost. So on the one hand, we have this material and the rest of the solid materials of the building. That's what we decided to do. So we will demolish the building. Yeah, of course, we are following the rules, but no wasting material are going out of the plot. So we will use the marès stone to create a new super concrete bricks made with limb, not with cement, with big pieces of stone inside. But during the demolition process, so we'll have a kind of bricks before start the construction of the building. These were what the competition expected, and this is our proposal. So we use wood, but for the ceilings and so on. Well, it's the section, you can understand it. The rest of the wasting material are going to be used to these foundations, which are very deep and that will be made on concrete, massive concrete, and we will pour everything there. I mean, concrete beams, ceramics, and so on. And the rest of the material are going to be used in these big bricks. And again, this working process, we are in just completing the project, but again, because of a strategical decision, what happens in the spaces and the characteristics of the building are strongly connected. You cannot explain this project if you don't know what we did with the material and the opposite. Yeah, to enjoy. Yeah, I think that Ursula said something about that. We are 4 partners, and we are, I think that nowadays 15 people, no more. We don't want to be more. And each year, twice on Christmas holidays and before summer holidays, all the team go to the works that we completed this year and make kind of visit, but in this case, not only visit, a party that ends drinking champagne on the pool. We are not so glamorous, but we finish the party in this way. Yeah, I think that it's super important for us. And I think it is important that I explain that to you, that we are a team. So a team means something very strong, because it's very difficult behind all of these buildings and all the buildings that I explained and my colleagues explained it before. There are not only beautiful stories, so we suffered a lot. It's very difficult to convince a client to fight against the heritage, the rules, and the budget and the materials and everything. So each building that can be explained, each building where the people is happy inside, it's for us, it's a successful story. And this is only thanks to the idea of a team that support all these difficulties. And that's all.
Thank you, Javier, for these beautiful atmospheric projects and also for the good ideas about the end of the year for our own offices. Are there any questions?
It's not so much a question concerning the ecologic, but maybe more the way to work in this processes you showed us, especially the project with the theater. I wonder how you developed this. Did you work on a model, or was it more deciding on the site, or how did you develop as an architect these spaces?
Which project do you say? Because I don't understand the name of the project.
The one with the theater.
The theater.
Yes.
Yeah. Historically, we never use models so much. We start using models, so we prefer to draw and to talk. But we start using models, big ones, to explain the project to the client. And we have also a small office, so we can produce a lot of models when we do a big model, because nowadays we work a lot with models to explain the project to the client, but also to develop the project for us. But after it's the completion of a model, then we need to reuse it, the furniture, the people, to the next model. No, in this case, it was strange because we did the competition and we won, but we were not allowed to go inside the building. So it was a blind process for us. Luckily, we won. And after that, we visit a lot of times the building. But in this case, and also for all the refurbishments, the project is like a framework, something that creates kind of objectives. But then during the construction, we almost change everything. And it's not easy because it's administration and the budget, and we put everything on the edge, and it's very difficult. No, but in this case, the models were not important for nothing. We did just one model for a neighbor's presentation.
I have a question about the project in Palma. As far as I know, the stone you were referring to, the Mare stone, that's the same stone that Utzon used in Canlis, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And how does that work, that you take the material and compress the new stones?
No, the stones are the material that we have. The load-bearing walls of the building, the pre-existing buildings, are made by these stones, and we don't need more.
So you're just cutting it to the right size?
Yeah, I don't know, because it's under design project nowadays. But the idea is to use, so we are working with walls that starts in the basement, because we have a basement in 80 centimeters width, and in each level we reduce 10 centimeters. I mean 80, 70 to 14 on the top. The size of the stones will depend on the size of the brick, but also in the process of the construction. We still don't know, because we are trying to make some, not mock-ups, but some tests there next week. And the thing is how big can be the stones, and depending on that, we will work in one way or another. But for sure, in the level on the top, the one with 40 centimeters, we will use as maximum 6-7 centimeters, which is the maximum that a machine that can can mesh together.
Hi, thanks for the lecture. I was wondering, do you discuss in the office? You say you talk a lot, you draw, you talk as a team. You mentioned the team at the very end of your lecture. Do you debate topics beyond the project that are affecting us within the building industry, similar to maybe the general topic of this symposium here, or are you only focusing solemnly on the task of the project?
Yeah, the thing is that the year 1998, 1999, 2000, when we started as architects, there in Spain, it was easy to have small commissions of which student can create their own office. It was very easy. That means that we started constructing. So we learn architecture doing things, discussing it, but always doing things. We never need to have a theory. The theories appears thanks to the experiences. And about the question, yeah, the only thing that we have clear, and it's not something to share, but we discard all the opportunities that we imagine that are not going to be built. It's so I don't know why, because we feel comfortable with this idea of understanding the end, or I don't know, and now we are starting being old, so it's not easy to change our mind probably, but yeah, we are focusing on the construction, but yeah, we are. So the material decisions are always on the table. During the year 2010 till 2015, we were strongly connected to this idea of saving energy in general. Now we understand that it's not enough. It's super important, it's necessary. But as I said, it is also necessary that the buildings don't fall down. And this is not a specific value. All the buildings are strong enough in general. Yeah. But for example, as I told you, we never work with our hands. But we have a lot of young people in the office that have kind of initial or small offices, and they also during the studies they use their hands. But it's, yeah, we feel like God giving orders in a way. But we are super close. We are always on site. We are not, I don't know, Jean Nouvel visiting the work on site one time per year. Well, sorry for the comparison, but we are very in a very down level. I mean, we understand. I told you about the idea of a team, but when we are under a construction, the team is bigger. The people that is using their hands to put bricks on site are always from our part. So yeah, I don't know if next years we will change a little bit and we start doing things with our hands. Could be.
Okay, thank you. So Shadir.